welcome back everyone to Tapping into the Energy of Life. Today, our inspiring conversation is on the power of choice. And the thought that immediately came to my mind is one of the people that is one of my favorite spiritual gurus, I'll just call him, is Mike Dooley. And he has a website called tut.com, which is the universe talks, which I love that concept, the universe talks. So every morning he sends out an email with these wonderful philosophical things, and they're directed right at you, and they just always hit home, it seems. But his tagline for Tut is your thoughts become things, think the good ones. And that to me is the power of choice. Is your brain is, you have the choice of what you think about and how you, and more importantly, how you think about it. And that is a very powerful choice that you have to make. And this is one of the things that Thomas and I go back and forth on, because he's a realist and I'm always in la la land, because in my world, anything is going to be wonderful and it's all going to work out. And we don't need to sweat the little stuff. And we don't need to put negative thoughts out there about, well, this could happen or that could happen. And all of those kinds of things. So I'm a very big believer in choosing how you think about things. And it's very hard, though. I mean, I find myself sometimes, you just have negative or worrisome thoughts, and it's very, very difficult to maintain that positive all the time, but it's so important.
It's because they say where your focus goes, the energy flows. You're right, choose good thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's really the power of choice that we have. I mean, the other day I was talking to a friend about our freedom, if we really had free will or we didn't. And me and my friends, we used to have this kind of chatty, non-deep conversations. So that's ironic. We started talking about that thing about really having free will or not. And like with tarot readings and all these things that I do, it was like, but is it destined, like determined, and is the future already written, or do we have any choice? And my experience with the future, that I've been 35 years now reading tarot cards, and people come and say, tell me my future. And is like, there's not something written. There are things that we have to go through no matter what we do, like some kind of events that are so determining for our learning process as a soul that we go through that. But the way you go through it, the meaning of it, how you feel it, what happens to you when you go through it, it's so dependent on your own way of choosing how to look at it. And as you were saying, the energy that you put in it and the result and the consequences of things change so much. So we can really jump timelines. We can really do and shift things. But there are other things that we are not free to change. Like, for example, our essence. We cannot change who we are. We might want to, because we don't love ourselves, and we might think that we should be like this or like that. You can't change yourself so much. Your essence is your essence anyway. But you can change how to manifest that. You can choose if you want to be more authentic or less, or so many things. So the free will and the power of choice, I think it's so important. And in the sessions with people, that's mostly the one of the objectives in a session, is to empower the person so that he or she realizes that there's a choice, and responsibility and freedom are bonded. So you have to choose or not to choose, but even not choosing is a choice. And the power of choosing is so important. So yeah, I love this topic.
Yeah. Agree with you, Maria, because I have this conversation with my sister and I. We talk about it a lot. Me and my daughters, we talk about it a lot. That when you hear something, you want to wonder how much of it is destined and how much of it is your choice. and it's difficult to come to an equation, or how much it is. In Vedanta, they give they give an example where they say there's a garden and you take uh, a dog and you tie him to a pole. So he has got a choice and he's got a freedom of only that, wherever the rope takes him. So he's destined to be, his destiny is still there. He doesn't have free choice, free will there, but he has free will and choice to do whatever he can within that framework. So they just give this example for us to try and understand is that there are a lot of things, like you said, Maria, are um, not under our control to some extent, but we have the power of making choices. The power of making choices, we as human beings, the power of making choices to do an action, but and also the power of making choices on how do we react to situations. And that
That's
determines, I
important,
guess, the
very important.
result of what we receive as a react. And of course, accountability of our choices.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
cannot choose, for
it's a big
example,
power.
yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, we cannot choose how to feel about something because we feel it. I mean, that's an impact that we have had and we feel it. So it's not like, oh, I don't want to feel this, and you have the choice not to. You feel it already.
Yeah,
But then with that feeling, you have the choice to react, to
yeah,
act consciously, to choose to act on it, to not, to deny it. There are many choices that you
yeah,
can take, but
right,
you cannot choose not to go through that. It's like, now that this is here, what do I do with it?
true.
But that's the point.
Yeah. And how do I react to it? Do I react this way or that way or this? Because there are innumerable ways of um, exercising the choice to react, and accordingly you get the result. Yeah. But choices is a very big power that we have, isn't it? How we choose to get up in the morning, every second, what do we choose? Because every minute or every second is a new second. So what am I choosing right now? What am I choosing for myself right now? If you consciously ask yourself this question, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it's very,
Yeah,
very
really, it's like
powerful.
your spirit is
I
more
gave my friend
powerful.
a plaque one time that says, the saying is change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at will change. So in the Christian doctrine, I've heard this several times that God has already planned your entire life out for you. Like my sister's going through all of these medical issues, and she's like, well, this is the path God has given me. Um, and I disagree with that because I think God gave us free will. That's why Eve ate the apple, right? um, to make those choices. And I've also trying to tell her that, sometimes, you can pull within yourself the power to heal. People do it all the time. You hear all these miracle stories. Um, so I disagree with that bit of doctrine, that God has already laid out your life for you, because I really think that we have all kinds of choices, that we can do, and make our own choices and follow our own desires and needs.
And
Yeah,
it's like we will never know, right, Carol, Maria? We will never know, right? Because we're here now, we're living this life. We will never know what was laid out for us and what to believe or not to believe, because there are so many things around us, right? But I guess we know that what we have right now is the right and the ability to make choices. Let's use it.
yeah.
Let's make the
And
choices,
also
that
there's
resonate with us.
I also think there's a paradox, like a
There,
contradiction,
there is a
because
what? A paradox. Okay. Yeah,
paradox,
yeah.
because we are free to make choices, but if we are really honest, we cannot say where that will to choose comes from. So it's like, I want this or I want that. And you know what you want, but you don't know where does that wanting come from. It's like, why do I like strawberries instead of chocolate? It's like, you're not free to like the other thing. I mean,
Yep.
you like chocolate more than strawberries. You cannot choose to change that.
Yeah.
You can choose to eat chocolate or not, or eat strawberries or bananas or whatever, but you cannot choose who you are. I mean, you like chocolate. That's the real thing. I mean, you can't choose not to eat it. But where does that come from? That idea or that choice that you really like, or even the thought of now I can choose between eating or not eating this. You don't choose to have that thought. That thought comes and then you can choose. But so there's a thing in therapy that is, don't ask yourself to be able to do something or to choose in this way, in this conversation, when you don't have the thought about choosing, you don't have the opportunity to choose. So it's like you have the choice when you have the choice. So it's like you are free, but also you're not. So it's a paradox, like who's choosing and where does that choice come from?
And there are
So
different schools of thought on this. For example, they say that some people say it's the tendencies that you're born with, it's the sanskaras or the tendencies, or it's the genes, it's the energies that have created you, your ancestors, your grandparents, your parents, and then you. So you've got that energy and genes and cells and whatever of, I don't know what the right term is. So those are already, like you said, those tendencies are already within you to probably fear something. So it's like they say there's a lot behind it. So like you said, you don't know why you fear this, you don't know why you like it, but you're going towards it. So they say there's a lot of background energy work but of course they also say that even if you're born with a blueprint, you have a choice to work at it and overcome it, overpower it, change it by changing your perspective or your actions. There's a lot of choices with which you can actually change your reality as well. Well, some of them, I guess. Very
yeah,
interesting, huh?
my
Yeah.
idea or my experience is that when you realize you can choose, then you have the responsibility of choosing. But if you're not aware of that possibility, because then you are not able to choose, you're just doing what you do. So then it's like this is the automatic patterns or some sanskaras, or how do you call them?
Sanskaras or tendencies that you're born with,
Yeah, exactly.
or cells or energies.
The program. This
Yeah,
is like a machine, the
program. Yes.
program that is working.
Yeah.
So when you realize that there's something that you don't like about what you're doing, or something you do like, but it maybe it's not healthy, then you start thinking about what is this about? And then you open the door to the possibility to change that. And then awareness is making a change.
Awareness.
Difference is also helping you to be able to choose. When you are not aware, the unconscious mind is just driving the car, and you're just like there sitting in the back seat, thinking that you have some choice. But it's actually the unconscious mind, which is like so much percentage of our mind. And also these epigenetic interactions, as you were saying. So you may have a gene, like the family tree has that information, but then what you do and what you don't do, what happens around you, the surroundings, the relationships, your parents, whatever, that triggers or turns it on or turns it off. So there are a lot of modifications in all those energies, but if you're not aware, then I don't know if you really have a choice.
Here's an opportunity for us to do a podcast on awareness next time.
That's very
That would
good.
be quite a learning.
So guys, if you want it, just say it.
Yeah. Well, I have a simple example of like what you're kind of talking about, Maria, is that like I have a couple friends that say, "Oh, I never nap. I can't nap. I never nap." And I always think to myself, well, of course you can't because you say that. You are prophesizing that so you're not giving your body a choice. And I keep saying, as you get older, it's actually really beneficial to nap. You live longer if you nap. So you want to start working on that. But when you make those emphatic statements, you're not giving yourself a choice.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
be
And
careful
also,
what you say.
Yeah.
when you say always or never. Be careful what you say.
Careful. Yeah.
Yeah, and also maybe like in this case your friends, but whoever says that I never do this, or I always do this, or I am like this, or I'm not like that. Sometimes we're not aware of why we say that and what are the choices and the conditionings and the beliefs that makes us say that. Because sometimes it's like, well, for example, I never nap. But that's not true. When I feel so tired and drained because I have very high cortisol levels sometimes, I need to nap because my body doesn't like, it can't stand it. So I break and I just like die there in the bed. But then, for example, I sleep less in the evening and things like that. But it's a choice. I could start working on my cortisol levels, slow down a little bit, start to chill out and have a different rhythm and habits and things. And that would change my sleeping habits. So it's not like I am that way. It's like I'm choosing unconsciously habits and things that make me not be able to relax and nap or have a very good night's sleep. So that's a choice.
There's a very nice question that we can, Access Consciousness tells us about, we could use this for choices, is what else is possible for me that I can choose? What else is possible for me that I can choose right now? Because sometimes you feel stuck and say, no, what else is possible for me that I can choose right now that I'm not aware of?
That's a very
Yes, that's
powerful
one of my
question.
favorite questions that you have taught us, Alak.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, my sister had
Yeah,
taught me.
definitely. When you're working, for example, with tarot cards and people come and say, "What's the future for me?" It's like, why don't you ask yourself like what kind of future you want, and you connect with the self, the quantum self that already is living that life, and see what information comes from it. Like,
Yeah.
how is she doing it? How is she embracing it? How is that happened? Or how has that version of you already achieved it? So what has she done to achieve it? So there's so many things like you're saying, like what's possible, like what are the chances? There are many chances as long as you're aware. So that's the point, I think.
So if you've liked our podcast today, why don't you like, share, and subscribe?